So Caitlin Clark this weekend is getting her jersey retired. We all know that it's a big game. It's going to cost you like $800.
What happens when a college senior ceremony is selling tickets for more than $1,000, yet one of the best WNBA players is unable to fill an arena for her jersey retirement? You won't believe what South Carolina is doing to prevent empty seats, from free tickets to panic moves, after the Wilson and Caitlin Clark jersey retirement drama took an unexpected turn.
It's A'ja Wilson's retirement jersey day, right? And, well, her prices for her game are high. The only problem is Caitlin Clark's are literally about 11 times higher.
Let's talk about
This narrative goes beyond the numbers in the rafters. It also illustrates how swiftly things can change in women's basketball. Watch closely because everyone will be talking about what happens next. So let's discuss what may be the most awkward scenario in women's basketball right now. While Caitlin Clark's ceremonial tickets are selling for more than courtside seats at some NBA games, three-time WNBA MVP.
All right? And one's got to wonder, is somebody really going to pay $700 to see A'ja Wilson and her number get retired? Maybe they will. But I can tell you right now, if somebody wants these seats right here to see Caitlin Clark, they're going to have to pay.
first.
MVP Olympic gold medalist A.A. Wilson, who literally has a statue outside South Carolina's arena, is unable to sell out her jersey. Retirement ceremony. How did we get here? Let's divide everything into. First, we must discuss timing because this is where things start to get strange. South Carolina has had 7 years to retire Wilson's jersey. She graduated in 2018 and helped them win.
No single moment stands out more than the one that happened at Carver Hawkeye Arena last February in an unforgettable night against Michigan. Rebecca Kopelman is reliving that night through some of the eyes that were there to witness history.
It was the swish heard round the state. The record-breaking Logo 3 made by Clark right in this spot. That bucket that captured audiences across the country, now cemented in history here at Carver and in the memories of Hawkeye fans who were here to witness it.
In their first national championship, which essentially made their program famous. You would think they would have done this as soon as she left campus, but they waited so long that they actually broke their own rules in the A 5-year waiting time is anticipated following a player's last college graduation. Wilson finished from college in 2018, so they could have done this in 2023 instead. They announced that it will take place in 2025, which is more than 5 years away. This is where it gets very fascinating, though, since they chose February 2nd. Wilson ceremony in 2025. If that date seems familiar to you, it should be because Iowa selected Caitlin Clark to retire from her jersey on that same day, with the same number 22. But two very distinct stories are developing. Let's discuss how these announcements transpired. In contrast to South Carolina's strategy, which despite Wilson's incredible accomplishments, we're talking about someone who has a statue outside the arena. Iowa's announcement of Clark's jersey retirement felt like an afterthought, as if they suddenly realized that yes, we should probably do something about that Wilson jersey. However, the real story here is the ticket situation and people are getting embarrassed. Iowa made the announcement just 1 week after Clark's final game, and the momentum was there. The emotion was fresh, and fans were still feeling high from her incredible career. To ensure that Wilson's ceremony doesn't appear to be a ghost town, on television, South Carolina is actually giving away tickets. A ticket costs $16, which is less than the cost of parking at most sporting events, and even at that price, the arena is still empty. Meanwhile, in Iowa City, people are willing to pay thousands, yes thousands, to see Clark's number soar. We're seeing tickets listed for anywhere from $200 to more than $1,000. The social media response to Iowa's announcement of Clark's ceremony reveals everything we need to know about how fans are interpreting the fact that some people are paying more to watch his jersey retirement than they would for NBA playoff games. Twitter exploded, people were planning trips to Iowa City, trying to figure out how to get tickets, sharing their excitement, when South Carolina announced Wilson's ceremony crickets, followed by confusion about why it took so long. Wilson's fans are trying to spin this, saying it's disrespectful that Clark Kearney is overshadowing Wilson's. But here's the thing. If South Carolina had done this years ago when Wilson was fresh off her college career, we wouldn't be having this conversation. They had plenty of time to give her this moment in the spotlight, but they waited. What makes the situation even more awkward is Wilson's own history of comments about Clark. Remember when she couldn't stop throwing shade about Clark getting too much attention? Well, now those comments are coming back to haunt her. The basketball gods, it seems, have a sense of humor. Let's be real about what this tells us about the state of women's basketball. Right now, the game is changing, and it's changing fast. It's not enough anymore to just be great on the court. The new generation of stars led by people like Clark understand that connecting with fans, being authentic, and building your brand off the court is just as important as what you do on it. This isn't just about ticket prices, it's about the evolution of women's basketball. As a whole, when Wilson was in college, social media wasn't what it is. In 2025, the contrast between these two ceremonies will teach us something important about sports. How quickly things can change, how quickly a new star can rise, and how important it is to stay connected with your fan base. Today, the landscape was different, but players like Clark are now building their brands from day one, engaging with fans directly, and creating personal connections that translate into real support. Despite the fact that Wilson remains one of the world's top players, this circumstance demonstrates that even the best athletes must adjust to time is changing. So let's examine what this whole situation means for women's basketball going forward. What we're witnessing with Wilson and Clark isn't just the retirement of two jerseys. Rather, it's a radical change in how the sport engages with supporters. Consider how South Carolina is handling this situation. They're doing everything in their power to fill those seats. Free admission, exclusive offers, incentives, you name it. It's like hosting a party and pleading with guests to go for someone of Wilson's quality. It's nearly unimaginable that she has a statue outside the arena, but they are unable to fill the seats inside. Meanwhile, Carver Hawkeye Arena is becoming the most sought-after ticket in sports for Clark's ceremony, with people who have never seen a women's basketball game in their lives vying for seats. The secondary market is booming, with tickets being resold for prices that would make NBA executives scratch their heads. What's fascinating is seeing how both players are responding to this circumstance. Wilson's reaction has been quite different. There's been this underlying tension in her remarks, especially when people bring up Clark. Clark has been nothing but gracious, thanking her coaches and teammates and talking about all the number 22s who came before her at Iowa. She's making her jersey retirement feel like a celebration of Iowa basketball as a whole. Her comment about black women being ignored struck a different chord when you consider these ticket sales. Perhaps it has less to do with race and more to do with how you interact with your audience. Since social media is where the true difference manifests itself, let's take a moment to discuss it. Wilson's social media presence, on the other hand, frequently comes across as aloof. Sure, it's professional, but there's a wall there. And in 2025, fans want more than just highlights and promotional posts. They want to feel connected to the athletes they support. Clark's social media presence is like having a friend who happens to be really good at basketball ball. She shares behind-the-scenes moments, interacts with fans, and displays her personality when she posts something. On February 2nd, 2025, we will see exactly where women's basketball is going in Iowa City. There will be a filled arena full of people who have paid top dollar to attend, and there will be national media coverage. The works well. In Columbia, you'll have, let's hope those free tickets help fill some seats. But here's the crazy part. If you think about it, more people will be watching women's basketball that day than ever before, and some of them may stay to watch the WI ceremony. Sometimes you get more attention as the second story than you would as the only story. The difference in how these universities handled their stars is also telling. Iowa recognized that when they announced Clark's ceremony immediately following her final game, when feelings were running high and fan engagement was at an all-time high, they chose a date that held significance. February 2nd for number 22, scheduled it during a major game, and made it an event. South Carolina, they waited 7 years, broke their own 5-year rule, and then seemed surprised when fans weren't immediately excited. It's like they forgot the basic rule of entertainment: timing is everything. Let's talk about legacy for a minute, because that's what jersey retirements are really about. Wilson's legacy as a player is secure. You don't win multiple WNBA MVPs by accident. But Clark, she's changing how people think about women's basketball. She's not just playing the game, she's revolutionizing how it's marketed, consumed, and appreciated. The ticket price difference isn't just about popularity, it's about impact. Clark made people care about women's basketball who never gave it a second thought before she brought casual fans into the sport, made them invested, made them want to be part of these moments. Here's another angle to consider: the next generation of players is watching all of this. Young athletes are seeing how Clark built her brand, how she connected with fans, how she made herself bigger than just a basketball player. They're also seeing how Wilson, despite all her achievements, is struggling to fill an arena for her jersey retirement. What message does that convey? It reminds them that being a fantastic basketball player is no longer enough. You also need to be a pro. The future of women's basketball becomes somewhat intriguing at this point. The sport is at a crossroads. The traditional approach of letting your game speak for itself is eroding, and the new approach of creating content as much as an athlete is taking over. While not everyone is happy about this shift, the genie's out of the bottle. Where does this leave someone like Wilson, who is still among the best players in the world and still has that statue outside of the court? Clark demonstrated to everyone what can happen when you combine extraordinary talent with genuine fan interaction. The next generation of stars will compete not only on the court, but also for attention and that connection with fans that transforms good players into cultural icons. Although Colonial Life Arena still has all those accomplishments, this jersey retirement issue serves as a wake-up call, demonstrating that in today's sports world, your on-court accomplishments are only one aspect of the tale. Perhaps that is the true lesson to be learned from this. Women's basketball is not only expanding, but also changing, and the players who recognize this, embrace it, and make themselves approachable by supporters are the ones that pack arenas, even for events that are as conventional as, according to an insider, when February 2nd rolls around. The jersey retirement ceremony will involve more than just two players having their numbers retired. It will also involve two distinct methods of starting them, two distinct eras of women's basketball colliding on one exciting day, and the contrast couldn't be more obvious if they had planned it. And you know what? Perhaps that's exactly what the sport needs right now. A vivid example of how things are changing, because change isn't always comfortable, but is typically necessary. Women's basketball is maturing, reaching new audiences, producing new stars, and the game is changing, and the players who adapt to it will be the ones who thrive. While some may view this as a humiliation for Wilson, it may actually be an opportunity to reestablish a relationship with her fans and show a different side of herself to adjust to. One thing is certain: February 2nd, 2025 will be a day that people talk about for years to come, not just because the jerseys will be retired, but also because it represents a changing of the guard in women's basketball, a shift in how stars are created and maintained, and perhaps even the beginning of a new era in the sport. After all, that's what great athletes do. They adapt, change, and find a way to stay relevant. A story of two jersey retirements that provides more information about women's basketball's future than any stat sheet could. How do you feel with South Carolina providing free Ailey tickets? Wilson's ceremony is the cost of tickets for Caitlin. Clark, feel free to share your opinions in the comments section below. Please share your thoughts if you liked this in-depth look at women's basketball. We're providing you with the most frank, unvarnished coverage of women's sports, and I promise you won't want to miss